Alright, so the next task is to get rid of this pin in here by pulling it out through the front, and that will release the rest of the tension on the timing chain. Don't ask me how to put it back in, I have no idea, but it's got a like a bolt thread inside it, and you're supposed to put like a slide hammer tool in through here and like knock it out, but in BMW's infinite wisdom, they were actually smart enough to use the same thread in these holes as they did in here, so you have a reference. Left hand is not my dominant hand. There we go, so you see that screws in nicely, well past 3 turns. And so my plan is to get a bolt that has the same thread pitch as this, stack some washers in here, and then tighten this up to thus wind that stud out and hopefully not destroy everything. But yeah, I don't want to have to buy a $150 tool for a job I'll never do again, so yeah, let's go find a bolt and some washers that suit this. Alright, so here's my bolt. I think it's a Nissan R31 Skyline power steering reservoir bolt or something, I don't know. Anyway, got a selection of washers and we'll see what we can't figure out with these. Alright, so this current setup is working. Let's see if I can video some of it. You can hear a slight click. Alright, so you might be able to see it move. You can see a little bit of a different colour spot there. So it is moving, and should be able to get it out. You might need some more washers. It's working. Well, it looks like my super sickle gear kind of backfired. So the bolt broke off inside the pin. But yeah, it's not made it all the way through yet. So that there, if you can see that silver bit's going, oh god, this is terrible. Alright, whatever, the silvery shiny bit between the dark bit and the lighter bit there, that one there, that has to come all the way out of this bit here, and we didn't succeed. So now we have to try and extract this broken piece of crap and get another one in there. So this is the bolt that was stuck in there, and it looks like I was a bit silly because clearly from the oil mark I just bottomed it out and snapped it off, because it's only was that like 6 mil or something. So I got some more washers and another bolt, and we'll see what happens. Alright, so there we go. Pins out, so we just pulled all the way out through that hole, and it looks like that chain's lost most of its tension off that tensioner. So now I just got to do the other side and hope to God this abortion of a setup will work, but we'll see. Alright, so I'm a bit of an idiot and I tried to put too many washers on here and it didn't engage enough of the thread, and it tore the last few threads off. So you can see the difference between one that hasn't been attacked and one that has. So now I have to pick all the thread that got torn off out of the hole and put this one on with less washers, so that there's an even distribution of load across more threads than like 2 at the end. Alright, so I'm trying to get these bolts out of the front of the cam. So pretty much there's these flat parts on the cam on either side that you're supposed to like have some sort of tool that like bolts into these 2 holes and then fits in there, and I tried to measure them and they're about 37 to 38 millimeters. I think they're actually tapered, so they're not perfectly square, they're like sort of in a bit at the top, or this is the top of the cam for the moment. So I went and bought a 38mm spanner, and it seems to fit and hold them enough to crack it, and then just put a whatever size this is, a 27mm deep reach socket straight over the front here, and then just lefty loosey righty tighty, and tried to make sure the cams didn't move too much. So you can see they've moved a little bit, but I'll just have to realign them and before I remove the cam gears. So yeah, it's pretty much the way I'm doing it. Let's hope it works. Alright, so I got the first cam sprocket or cam gear off, whatever you want to call it. And that's pretty much the way it is. So it's got a bunch of oil passages in it, and then a thread at the end. So careful not to drop that. Then the sprocket itself, so you can see where all the passages travel through in there. So just sort of, that piece came out and this sort of sat in place because of all the awesome zip ties, so I just had to tighten a few of them. So you can see that this bottom chain is still under some pretty serious tension because of these zip ties, and the top part is all loose So now when I take this one off, the same thing will happen. This top side will go loose and I'll have to retighten these to hopefully keep some tension down here and stop me from losing timing at the bottom. So don't fret, I will turn the motor over by hand and see if I'm going to bend valves before starting it to triple check, so that if I have to, I can undress the front of the motor and retime it properly. I just like to avoid doing that, save myself a little bit of time. Alright, so the second cam sprocket's off, and as you can see the alignments went out a little bit, and that's just because of the spring pressure on the valves pushing up against the cam, so they would have like rolled over the lobes. So when you go to put it back on, you got to make sure that they line back up. And I am 80, 90%, maybe 95% confident that this chain hasn't moved at all. The bottom's still under good tension, and yeah, I hope to God that whatever this is has worked, and time will tell. So yeah, so for now I just have to remove the cams themselves and that girdle thing on top, and then the head can come off. So we're getting close. Alright, so the next step is to remove the cam girdle thing. So the instructions say just remove it gradually, starting from the outside in. So I went front right, back left, front left, back right on all the outside bolts, and then I did the same on the inside. So front right, back left, front left, back right, and then went on to the next section. So that one, or is it that one, that one, and that one, and so on and so forth until I got to this. Then it was just 1, 2, 3, 4, and once I cracked them all, I then just buzzed them out with the rattle gun and then just lifted it off. And yeah, you can see that the cams are now completely exposed and ready to be taken out. There is just this one thing back here that I don't know what it is. I presume this is some sort of cam angle sensor, so if I can help it, I'm not going to mess with that. And this side appears to have nothing getting driven off of it, only that side. So see if I can get the cams out nicely. This is what I meant when I was talking about those two things. I mean, they do look parallel, but it just, maybe it was an optical illusion, I don't know. But either way, they're about 37, 38 millimeters wide. Oh, that looks like crank timing there. Cam timing rather. So I don't know what that is, some kind of vacuum generator maybe. Oh, anyway, time to get them out. One other thing to note is just to make it idiot proof, write down intake and exhaust on the actual cams so you don't screw it up, because you know, that would be really bad. I don't actually think you can, because it looks like this one has this hall sensor, this one doesn't. It has it back there, but I don't know that you can put this cam on that side, and you know, if you were looking for this you would notice, but anyway, just to save you making the mistake. Alright, so the cam's just lifted straight out nice and easy, and that just has a little follower thing, so it's pretty easy to turn back and forth, as you can see. So you just line it up and be careful, because this pin, actually no, it doesn't come out. It kind of felt like, oh no, it'll probably come out. So just be careful with that pin and this thing, you know, lose them. Just lift the cam straight out and then try and arrange everything so you know this corresponds to that side of the engine there, and then vice versa for this one, like that. And if you've got a pen you can write down what they are, but it's got labels, A for exhaust and E for intake, don't ask, maybe German stuff, but anyway. And this cam is making a huge mess everywhere, so yeah, just be ready for that. And now we've got to figure out how to get the head off. Okay, so the next part to remove was this lower thing, I don't know what it is, whatever, maybe spark plug mounting coil face thing. Anyway, it looked like it was glued on. You can see there's quite a bit of glue left actually, and there were only the 4 bolts at the front holding it, and there was 1 bolt here for the heat shield that was going into it, and I couldn't really find any place to get purchase. I tried here because it seemed viable, but it didn't want to move. I ended up finding, if you come through here somewhere, there was like a little bump from a stud that came through from the rocker cover, and you could get a pry bar in there and just lever that until it popped, and then just get a screwdriver under here, and just together they were able to pop the whole thing up, and then you just lift it off by hand and make sure you don't see, like here, knock that off. Just try and keep everything where it is so you don't lose the place of anything. So you should probably remove all of these lifters and and valve rocker, whatever, followers, and put them into separate containers so that they don't get mixed up or anything like that. But yeah, now we have complete access to all of the cylinder head bolts, so they're in between those and so on, so we should be able to get the head off now. Alright, so the next step is to undo all the head bolts. So use a E-drive E14. Now these two at the front aren't under much tension, so you just sort of loosen them off whatever, and then I just did the reverse of the tightening pattern, so go from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I've already shown you where they all are, in between all these rocker arms, and then the last one's right at the back there. So once they're all cracked, take all the bolts out, and then get ready to remove the head. Exciting stuff. Alright, so this is what all the head bolts look like. They're quite large, so there's many, 10 in total, and then the two at the front. So these are all torque to yield, I believe, so pretty much they can't be used as head bolts again because they've all stretched. So you can throw them in the bin or keep them. I'll probably keep them just in case. You never know when you might need a gigantic bolt that can go in the bin straight afterwards or something. And I don't know if those two come in the new bolt set because they weren't torqued up crazy tight like these were. So I'll put these ones in one spot and keep those ones just in case I need them. So here for now, and yeah, I'll pull those other two out and then lift the head off. Okay, so it looks like I had to take this heat shield off, and then all the way back here are a couple of bolts that hold the dipsticks in place. They're attached to the head, so make sure you disconnect them. And there was also a hose back here that was in this crappy plastic holder. If I could show you later the shape of that holder and the way to undo that, I will, but you can just sort of push it out of the way, and then make sure you disconnect these two hoses. So I'm not 100% sure how this thing's going to go because I have to disconnect this one and this one, and they appear to have the majority of the tension. So I cram this in there. I doubt it'll do anything. Yeah, at this point I'm pretty resigned to the fact that if this works, it's a miracle. Otherwise I'm going to have to strip down the whole front of the motor, which I'm probably going to do. So yeah, we'll just take it one step at a time. We'll get the head off first and then see where we're at. So those two bolts are next. Okay, so I got the head off, and I don't think the chain skipped a tooth, but I basically had to cut all of my bloody garbage off that I had laying around holding it up, and yeah, just like hold on to it and keep a good amount of tension on it with the second set of hands while I moved it off. So the mating surface of the block to the head looks pretty good, and so do all the cylinders. I haven't cleaned them or anything yet. This is just, I took it off like 2 minutes ago. It doesn't look too bad. The only drama I had was when I removed the head, there's like a dowel that pokes through on this little thing here, so that kept getting stuck on the head. So I'm like trying to lift it, and it felt like it was still attached to something, which was annoying. But I just sort of bent that out of the way a little bit. Wasn't my favourite idea, but I sort of had to do it. And other than that, this tension bloody idler thing was it's got a second pin going through it down below, whereas this one only had the top one and the tensioner. So when I went to move the head, this one wouldn't move at all, so I had to sort of like lift the head up and then go that way to get it around. There's like see that sticking out bit? I had to go around that, and then it came off, no worries. The head gasket is an MLS head gasket, and it wanted to stick to everything, so it got damaged coming off. You see I bent it, and it has awesome gaps everywhere, but I mean it's going to the bin anyway. Unfortunately, I can't see any obvious signs of water into oil and oil into water, which is really annoying because there's nothing better than taking a head off and looking at your head gasket and seeing really obvious signs. But the block doesn't show anything, the head gasket doesn't show anything. I haven't flipped the head over yet to have a look, but I presume it doesn't show anything either. So that leaves me with the super exciting prospect of apparently in the water pump somewhere here, there's two O-rings and they like to leak oil into water. So I really hope that that's not the problem, because I've just taken the head gasket apart for nothing. But funnily enough, so we saw that the this thermostat housing had the thermostat crammed in there and stuck or whatever. So this rubber, which I presume is from the thermostat, is actually sitting inside that water jacket just there. So that is concerning at the very least. Thankfully it didn't do damage, I guess, but yeah, that was quite strange. So yeah, I mean, if nothing else, we managed to fish that out, so there's a victory there. But yeah, we should probably flip the head over, have a look, see at it, and see where we can go from here. Hey, this thing's officially pissing me off. Alright, so I kind of skipped a couple of steps here. Alright, so we've reconnected the battery and it hasn't exploded, so that's a good start.